Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of February 8th. I saw it and I said it.
We're just breaking it down little by little here.
I'm Ryan Miller, and breaking it down little by little is Matt Amberg.
Yup.
Is this a purposeful silence? Or did we start too quickly?
Did we? Are we silent? Am I silent?
Is this the sound of silence? Maybe I'll start the show with that song.
Oh.
So far in the running, we have Scrubs or Sound of Silence for the beginning of the show. Which one was it? Because at this point, it's already happened. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully it's the sound of Scrubs.
On Book Club for Movies, where we watch one movie a week and we say, hey, you too. You. And then you can email us at podcast@bookclubformovies.com and tell us what you think and what you want us to think. And we'll do it. Anything. Literally anything.
I will think whatever anybody tells me to.
That is
I have
the lesson here.
I have given up trying to have my own opinions. It's not worth it. I'm always wrong in somebody's eyes, so I might as well just be right for everybody.
Opinions are like buttholes. Why do you keep showing me yours and telling me all about it?
Oh, I thought you were going to say everybody is one.
Everybody has an is one.
Has and is.
On Book Club for Movies. No, I already did that. So this week, Matt.
No, you know what? Let's start the show over and over again. Just keep going into on Book Club after everything. On Book Club for Movies.
On Book Club for Movies, where we watch one movie a week, and you can too. This week it is the Sound of. No, I'm sorry. Just Sound of Metal. There's no the. It is just Sound of Metal.
Okay, let me clean up. I've got a whole lot of stuff I've got to work on here because I've
got to edit some stuff. Okay,
I've got a bunch of clauses floating around now.
You got some ifs, ands, or buts.
Not even Santas.
Gross.
Santa butt.
Matt, do you have a synopsis for Sound of Metal?
I do have a Sound of Metal synopsis. It goes something like this. Sound of Metal is going to come at you in 2 hours. Written by Darius Martyr and Abraham Martyr. Directed by Darius Martyr. Starring Riz Ahmed, Olivia Cook, Paul Rassi, and Lauren Ridloff. Here is your Book Club for Movie synopsis for not the, but a, or no a, just Sound of Metal.
There it is.
I want there to be a thing before it.
Yeah, you did like a sign language before.
Which
maybe that's what it is. The is silent. It's just
you have to spell it out. There you go.
Did you just?
I signed the. That's.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh,
we'll talk about this.
Okay. All right.
But here let me. Should I do the synopsis or should we skip it?
Yeah, sure.
Like,
go ahead.
Right.
I guess
the drummer in a metal band must adjust to a new life as he begins to lose his hearing, all while struggling with sobriety. That's really it.
That is and isn't.
It
much.
Isn't. It's the way you said that. You know, it's that bit from Best in Show. Where it's like, well, I'm sure you've heard of me. I haven't.
Let's just answer that question for 30 to 45 minutes. What do you say?
Riz
Ahmed, who I gotta say, if there was any indication that this movie was coming, it was him. And strangest thing, I know we talked about this maybe even jokingly last week, but loved him in Rogue One. Of course, loved Rogue One for that matter.
Absolutely.
And then saw him in No Joke Venom and said to myself, even though that movie is weird.
It's Venom. I mean, and it's not even Venom, but it's like, yeah, it's a weird movie.
Weird. And for all that, watching Riz Ahmed in that, I remember coming away with, this is like, he's going to do something. Like watching Venom, strangely enough, I was like, I can't wait for the Sound of Metal.
He's a good actor. I like him.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Basically.
Well, I'm glad we've met up somewhere. It took a bit, but we made it.
And I don't know if that's a good place to start with this movie.
Sure.
Maybe you sounded like you had some history, or you know how to sign, or maybe have you been deaf this whole time? That actually was.
I've pretended to be. No, I don't remember how to sign. I remember certain things here and there, little bits. I remember the alphabet. But this movie was interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One being that I've played in so many bands and I've played music for, since I was 15, 16. I've never been good at it,
No.
but I still do it.
Sorry, that was a no of agreement.
No.
Having also been in 2 bands and not been good.
Yeah,
so.
no, I get it.
Okay.
But the other thing that actually really brings me a lot of interest is I'm always interested in movies that revolve around or involve the deaf community, because it was my sophomore year in high school. I think maybe it was my junior year. I don't remember when, but I ended up taking a sign language class, and my sign language class teacher was actually deaf. Totally, completely deaf. She didn't have an implant, but we talked about the implants at the time. They were not as widely available, I don't think.
Sure.
But there was definitely a discussion about it, and people asked her, and we talked to her, and her name was Trix. That was her sign name. I don't actually remember her real name because it's all we ever called her was Trix.
Sure.
But I took sign language, and she loved having me in the class because unlike so many other students, I'm very gregarious. And that's a huge part of sign language. One of the things that you learn quickly in the deaf community is, even if you don't know sign language, if you can provide a physicality to what you're trying to get across, it often does. It helps a great deal.
Huh.
Having expression to your face when you're signing and stuff, it helps. So she really loved having me, and she used to use me in examples all the freaking time. She'd be like, because she's like, "Well, watch him," and I'd be like, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm barely signing as it is."
And then everybody would start clapping.
And then that's right. And
you'd be like, no, you don't understand. I really don't. Clap.
And and then nobody claps in the class. You do this.
Oh, you're right. That's what I meant.
You do,
no,
you do the deaf version of clapping.
The handshake?
the handshaking,
the old Parkinson's up top.
That's right. They got it from Michael J. Fox, actually. The deaf community. They were like, Michael J. Fox knows how to clap.
I didn't think I would insult the Parkinson's community before the deaf community on this show, and
we'll get there.
Oh man,
don't worry.
Surprises.
I think we can hit a lot of
can get them
communities right in a row here. But she was a great teacher. I loved that class, and for the years that followed, she would bring me into class to again use exam. I wasn't even in the class anymore, but she would ask if I could stop by or come in and help people recognize how to be a little more physical and a little more open when communicating, because it's not like a spoken language where you can kind of mumble a language. You can mumble words at people and they can still get it. It doesn't really work with deaf people,
Sure.
So, I watched this movie with a the smidgen, a tiny sliver of knowledge of the deaf community that I had from my high school years. So what are we talking, 20 years ago? It seems like probably is actually
30,
more
30
than that.
40.
It's closer to 30 actually, I think now. but all of that stuff stuck with me in terms of the cultural aspects of it. So a number of the things that are said in the movie or talked about are they're things that I went, I recognize that discussion. I can't speak to much else other than recognizing certain discussions, but I really enjoyed those aspects of the movie in particular, which I'm sure we'll get to. But once he goes and he starts learning about how to be deaf, that's actually something that she kind of, we talked about as in school was learning how to be deaf when you were not. And, when you grew up hearing, or you were born hearing, and then you lose your hearing or whatever happens, it's a different world. And super interesting. So.
I'm glad that you started with that, because I feel like a lot of this is going to be us, obviously, from the outside looking in to some extent, to a large extent. But I think it's interesting hearing you talk about that and me in my head saying, oh, that's what was going on there. Or I remember seeing that in the film, or that's absolutely what they were doing at this moment, and stuff like that. So I think maybe we're getting to the first thing. In fact, I don't care. Yeah, let's get into it.
Do it.
The way this movie does communicate that culture, I think, from my point of view, again, outside looking in, seemed fantastic. Seemed very true to life, seemed very... And I guess that's the trick here, is movies that communicate a truthfulness to their being to people that have no way of knowing if that's actually true. You know,
Right.
I watch that, and it's not like a Michael Crichton or a Spielberg where you watch it and you think you're an expert in the thing because it's given to you in such an easy to consume manner. You know, on the other hand, this movie is giving me kind of just very, very deep dives and very realistic deep dives into what it must be like to be in a sober living home for the recently impaired. So, to explain that, the plot of this movie basically revolves around Riz Ahmed's character Ruben losing his hearing, yes, but then getting led to this sober living facility for all intents and purposes, and he is a recovering heroin addict, we find out, but that's not, I mean, they kind of touch on, especially when he starts to lose his hearing, you know, do you feel like relapsing? Do you feel like using? Stuff like that. And he says it's not a good day, but that's kind of it. For the rest of the movie, essentially the drug is hearing.
100%.
And he's in that facility to kind of learn how to wean himself off hearing, for lack of a better term.
There's a moment where early on when he gets there, and so kicking off this movie, he's in a duo metal band with his girlfriend Lou. And I freaking loved that first song that it opened with. I was super into the music that she did. Like, that was great. And that was actually them playing. They played it and recorded it. They did she did the guitar and the vocals. He did the drums. They didn't write it, but I think she actually did write maybe parts of it.
You're looking for, I read about it too. The sound. I'll keep going. I'll look it up.
So the movie ostensibly kicks off with us getting a handle on him, on what they are as a band and all that, and that he's, you know, it's a small thing. They live in a what is it? It's not a streamline. That's not the right word. What are they called? Airstream. Thank you.
Yeah, little RV.
They live in it. It's actually a pretty sweet RV too, really.
Dude, if for a long time I've known if I ever went RV, I was going Airstream. Like, not sponsoring this show, but man, those things are beautiful.
That thing it's really cool, especially for like the age. It's definitely older. Like, it still looks great. They live in an Airstream. They've got a tour going on, and they're just kind of putting money away, and we get an understanding that Ruben and Lou kind of met. They met 4 years prior. That's how long he has been sober, and she helped him get out of. She wasn't the sponsor, but she helped him. And his vice versa is that she was cutting herself and self-harming, and she's stopped doing that.
Which I didn't get right away. Again, and we're going to talk about this film, I feel like, ins and outs. We're going to spoil it. We're going to talk beginning to end to beginning, stuff like that. So fair warning. But yeah, right away I didn't get necessarily that the relationship was a little rough for her as well.
Sure. But those two, they kind of they have a little bit of a symbiotic relationship, helping each other out.
Codependent, you might say.
A little bit, yeah. And then we get those moments of Ruben losing his hearing, like, suddenly, and it's hard for him. He doesn't know what's going on. He's scared. He goes to a doctor, and he's told that, you know, yes, there are cochlear implants. They cost anywhere between $40,000 and $80,000, but you need to get used to the idea that you're not going to be able to hear. And that leads him down the road of Lou helping him get in touch with his sponsor, that finds the home that is a home specifically meant for the deaf. It's a community of the deaf in that home, but it is, in every respect that you've mentioned, it is a sober living home, because what he's given almost immediately after he gets there is he's told that everybody has a job and everybody does something, and his one job is to learn how to be deaf. That's actually like, they have like a job board, and that's what the owner and the person who runs the place, who is also deaf, writes on the board for him is that's your job, learn how to be deaf.
Yes, and the people you were looking for before, it says the sound design is created by Martyr, but he did have a key sound architect in Nicholas Becker, I guess is his name.
Nicky Becks.
who also closely collaborated with Darius' brother, Abraham Martyr.
Mm-hmm. They're martyrs.
On a little bit of the score, which I would need to rewatch this movie to figure out what exactly is quote unquote scored. Because
I don't remember score. I only remember the songs. Like,
it's certainly non-traditional. Like, it's not, it doesn't have all the orchestral swelling and stuff like that. Like, the main reason being because this movie, in putting you into that community, into that culture, does so largely by way of the sound design. And I think it might start out a little bit as expected. You get some sound POV hearing from Ruben.
Right.
Everything's muffled. You're getting his point of view, what he's hearing, and it switches back and forth between what any normal person might hear in the environment.
Not normal, any hearing person.
Yes. Thank you. When I say
we
that,
are,
I definitely don't use it like that.
I
just think
no. I'm only half teasing, because we are definitely not the people that are going to refer to things properly, I'm sure, throughout this.
No. You are correct. I just want to say, when I make this mistake in the future, I definitely don't mean normal versus deaf. I mean normal, like if you were in this space, you would hear the birds chirping. And then the movie is concerned with showing that point of view as well. Like the movie is riddled throughout with, and this will come back, these shots of the sky, and because the sober living home is out in the sticks somewhere, and you get lots of shots of the woods, clouds in the sky, sun beaming through the trees. I feel like I'm missing one or two, but they're in there, and that comes with sound. That comes with the birds chirping. There's lots of establishing shots of the home itself. Birds chirping and all.
Right. So
the movie does put you in the culture with the story, with the portrayals of the characters, but it also does so with the sound design. In fact, I don't know if that's Martyr or this article from Deadline, but when they say sound architect, I think that's an apt title for the people involved with designing this movie's sound. And it's largely successful, if not completely.
Yeah, no, I think they do a really good job of weaving in and out of not only full sound to partial bits of sound. And I'm really curious if they did work with the right and left channels, like, because I watched it on a TV, but I'm curious.
They did.
Did they? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
more so in the third act, after he does get the cochlear implants.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But they did a great job of weaving the sound in and out, adding the commonly described sounds that are heard when people lose their hearing. Some of those the tinnitus type, that the humming, the really loud kind of pinging. There's the muffled sound, the all of that stuff. And I think that the effect that they put onto it, like, I think it affects the movie in a perfect way. I think it really, really underscores what's happening. Like, it's the audio version of show don't tell, like it,
sure.
Which is, I think, pretty great. It's
here, don't not hear. What?
Yeah,
that would be, yeah. So I think underscore is the right word, because it perfectly complements what the film itself is doing.
Yeah.
Both structurally and even visually. Like,
yeah.
I knew I would like the look of this film because I had seen I've seen the poster image around.
Sure.
The low contrast blacks, the true black doesn't exist. It's more of a really dark gray or whatever, I kind of knew I was going to be into that, and it definitely held true. But that goes along with a story that, again, very realistically puts you, like, this isn't a movie about dramatic beats necessarily. Like, it's not all leading up until, and maybe the best example of this, again, we're going to go forwards and backwards, is a conversation that he has with Lou's father.
Yes.
Later on, when he's come back into the picture and is waiting to reconnect with Lou, because Lou could not be with him at the facility. So he goes to her father's house and is speaking with her father. And in that conversation that doesn't last 5 minutes, we get that Ruben's father wasn't there, moved around a lot when he was a kid. We get that Lou also comes from a broken family, that her mother killed herself. Like, it's explained in such a way that isn't like dun, 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 like oh, if there was a score, it would be overbearing. It's just done like you would do if you were having a conversation, because this isn't going to be news to Ruben. Surely everybody knows all of the information they're talking about already.
And I love that moment. I thought that moment, that sequence, beautifully written and beautifully acted by both of those people. And we do get the whole conversation is built around, and I was waiting for this because from a critical perspective, the movie overall's story doesn't necessarily do anything you're not expecting it to do.
Sure. And I feel like we've done this before, and you probably touched on it in your summary. That's about it, But
it's not the point. The point is this is such a movie about the journey, and even if you think you know how the journey goes, you probably don't. You might know how the journey ends. You might get a pretty good idea of this is what the story is going to lead into. And I know some of these beats, I've seen this part of a movie before, but that's not it. This is all about that dialogue and the environment that Ruben is in at the time. So I think in that respect, it's great. And this is one of those moments though, that I was waiting for okay, we're going to get the dad never liked Ruben and dad doesn't like Ruben and you're a bad influence on my daughter. And I love that they swerved it. And he goes, he ostensibly says, I didn't like you at the beginning, but for the wrong reasons. And here's why I'm thankful for your existence and why I'm thankful for who you are. And it doesn't turn into dad being a jerk and turning around and we find out that, everything is turned on its head. No, dad he's the understanding father that had a daughter that also had a problem, or I shouldn't say had a problem, but she had challenges in her life. Her mother took her from him and then she ended up killing herself, and that, set his daughter on a different road, but the road was with Ruben, and Ruben kept her from making further bad decisions or following in her mom's footsteps, what have you.
And he could see that. The father could.
Yeah. And I really loved that. That was one of those, like, that it totally swerved me in that, like, I expected the one thing and I got the exact opposite of it. And I was really pleased with it.
This movie is keenly aware of what's actually important.
Definitely.
And it's not any of that. It's not like that's why that conversation takes place after that. Like there are plenty of other movies where the interaction we get is that, he gets the father-in-law and he has to muscle through their bad blood to, get where he wants to be.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Sure.
Dude, that is all about that movie, man.
Have we talked about that since you've seen it?
I don't think we have, but that's a huge chunk of that movie.
Yes, that's a good example. And again, that's that movie. Like I liked that movie.
Also interesting because it's a culture I don't know about. So.
Yes. But this movie basically knows, hey, this isn't that movie. This isn't about that. What this is about is everything else we've done with the sound, with, obviously his journey at that facility, because he figures out what happened with Lou after they split up and feels left out, sees her performing on her own. In a really, by the way, I love that moment too. Okay. So something that he does throughout the movie is he's absolutely told at the beginning, no outside contact with the world. Right. And he has found a way basically by sneaking into the office of the guy who's running the place, using his computer and emailing her, and they're emailing back and forth. And he goes to her website and finds that she did release the new record that they had been working on and talked about, and that she did a performance. Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he's scrolling right on the front page, and you see new album out or whatever, or album release date, whatever. But one of the things that I really loved is that she's come to France because that's where father is from. That's where she's actually born, and she's doing a show, and we can't hear it. We only can see it. We're only seeing what he's seeing because he can't hear it either.
We're in a POV for him. Yeah.
And it's her on a floor with a bunch of electronics and stomp boxes around her. And she's doing the stomp boxes by hand and doing some tweaking on like a little soundboard and singing all at once. She doesn't replace him. She doesn't replace the drummer. Like, she has a drum machine and that's what she's using. And there's something that I really loved about that also is like making her making the decision to basically wait for him. Like she's waiting for him. She hasn't moved on in the sense that I've just changed the band. The band is the only thing that was important to me. Music was something that took her away from the pain that she had. It's something that gave her purpose. So she continues to do it because she has another bout of something that she can't do anything about. You know, she had her mother kill herself. She got the band. Now her boyfriend / drummer, he's basically unavailable to her, but she can't stop doing that. You know, it's not fair to her. And I love that moment. And that's a moment too where his frustration, like there is a massive amount of frustration for him because he can't do anything about it.
But he doesn't explode like again a lot of other movies would.
Right.
Like his reaction is measured in that he, if I understand this correctly, because again, not a ton is explicitly communicated. You've got to not make some leaps, but you've got to really be paying attention to what's important. Again, he sells off a lot of the equipment from the RV, and I think gives it to a friend who breaks the rules for him so that that money can get to Lou. Does that? You agree with that?
So the money, the way I read that was the money was a combination of things. He said he kept saying he was doing it for Lou.
Right.
But he ultimately takes that money, gets the implant, and then uses whatever the remainder is.
But that's the RV thing. That's why I'm saying his reaction is measured, is because half of it, besides him just going on a rampage and destroying the room he's in or something like that, and falling, like crying in the corner by the end of that, he goes and sells some stuff. It seems like to get money for Lou, and then sells the RV himself. Yes,
for the implant. No, see, I think it all goes to the.
Maybe this is all part of the same transaction. It's all money for the cochlear implants.
It all goes to the implant and then the plane ticket to France.
Here's why I wasn't sure though.
That's how
does he go to France? I just thought it was.
That's where they were at. Yeah, because she's in France. That's where the father is. They're definitely in France at the end.
Okay. I can miss things like that. The reason why I wasn't positive is because when he does that, because they say very explicitly that the operation will cost $40,000 to $100,000, $80,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And we know that he sells the RV for $22,000 with some stipulations that the guy will let him buy it back if he can a couple weeks down the road or something.
Right.
So I kind of assumed that he went to the doctor with only 20 or so thousand and got kind of the bargain basement cochlear implants or something.
Yeah, I just assumed that like the way I read that was he somehow got that money from everything that he had and had enough to get the implants. They run from 40 to 80,000. Okay. So I don't know that there is any such thing as a bargain basement, but yes,
I don't know either.
But that that's
Minority
actually,
Report where he's like he gets the eyeballs from Peter Stormare or something. Isn't that what?
It's like, hey, check it out, I got some eyeballs.
Dude, if Peter Stormare was the doctor that put the cochlears,
he's just got a whole bunch of ears in his jacket.
He just does an ear replacement surgery.
Yeah, they just. How do you feel now? I still can't hear anything. Well, we didn't say you could do that. We just said we'd replace your ears. Don't be an idiot.
Also, are my eyes different? What did you do? I'm Peter Stormare.
I'm Peter Stormare. I do things.
Oh
my understanding.
Why is Jesse Plemons here?
See, that would be great. The way I took it was that he got what he could get, and they're perfectly fine.
Yes.
But then we are also introduced to the fact that he. It seems like in that whole thing he didn't think all of it through. He didn't realize that there was a wait period. Which is something that I got from it too. He didn't realize that he had to wait to get the implants turned on.
Well, so this is the other thing I didn't realize too. And yes, we're going to talk about, I think, a very important thing here. Again, this movie being keenly aware of what's important and hearing versus non-hearing, you could say. He, like his, I forget what they say, his, gosh dang it, his, like they show the surgery.
Yeah. And
he is irreparably modified so that the cochlear implants can work.
Right, which I mean is that's how it's done.
Right, and in the process, his hearing is removed completely. Like he can still hear muffles and stuff like that.
Right.
But after the surgery, he's completely and utterly deaf. And yes, there's like a 4-week wait period, and then they turn them on, and he has his adjusted hearing. But I think what you're talking about is the difference between hearing and non-hearing on a whole nother level, right? Because I think it was very plainly stated throughout the film, in a film where not a ton is completely plainly stated. It is said that his hearing's not going to return.
Right.
And this operation is not going to return his hearing, et cetera, right? That's very understandable, I think, for anybody else, but he doesn't hear it, right?
No, absolutely, and that's exactly it. He literally doesn't hear. I mean,
I'm saying not literally. Like he understands the words. It is communicated, but he doesn't hear it like in his head.
Right. He figuratively also does not understand it.
Yes,
like,
that's what I mean.
Does not also hear it. Yes,
and that's just, I mean, par for the course for this film. That again, and I keep saying, is keenly aware of what's important, keenly aware of what hearing actually means. You know, what understanding actually means.
Right.
And
agreed.
It's just another example of how every layer communicates that and does so perfectly, that it does combine into a whole that's absolutely greater than the sum of its parts, and
100%.
That I think speaks to you more the more you watch it. I need to rewatch it, essentially, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
And I'm coming especially to this a little bit fresher than normal. Me and you both finished up the final hour this morning, and then immediately started recording.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, actually.
I think 30 seconds ahead of you at one point.
We did spend a few minutes describing exactly what we had just seen.
You're like, he's shaving his head right now. I'm like, he's done in about 20 seconds.
Spoilers!
Oh my gosh.
Tell me what other movies happen.
We're not going to do this movie justice, I feel like, because it is such a simple concoction that works on the perfect level. Again, I think it puts you into that community and that culture probably better than any. I don't have a long list of movies like this that I've seen, but better than any deaf-centric film I've seen, I'll say, or remember.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched, and I can't even remember what it's called, the Marlee Matlin flick that she won her Oscar for. I haven't seen that in forever, so I don't.
It's amazing. Probably, I don't even know.
Yeah, it was a great movie, but yeah, I mean, this is a different movie for a different time, and I think that the way this was done, I mean, I agree. I don't know that we'll ever be able to do justice to this movie in terms of providing what it does, providing that, like, really getting to the value of it. But this is a movie that I can't do anything but recommend. I think it's a great movie. It's got some very, some heartfelt bits. It's got some pretty funny little bits too. The entire tattoo thing was freaking. I was dying at the tattoo bit. I admit. I was laughing so hard at that.
Because it's another example of him integrating, right? Like trying to figure out. And again, that on paper that sounds like he goes to this facility, he learns how to be deaf. He, at one point he's put in, not in charge, I guess, but co-teaches some children, and we see him laughing for the first time once he warms up to the kids. In fact,
and it was super cute. That was actually a really, really wonderful little sequence too.
It's great. Like, it's not, again, expected is the wrong word because it's done so well, and it's like it knowing that this isn't the important part. It's like, hey, I'm going to take some beats from films that you might recognize, yes, but while I'm doing that, because that's not the important thing, and I don't want you to sit there stressing or worrying or trying to figure what's going on plot-wise necessarily. He's like, I'm going to do all these audio tricks, is the bad word, design, architecture throughout that's going to put this in a completely, if you're trying, point of view, right? All of those shots, overhead shots of the sky with the birds chirping and stuff like that, are quite often matched up against shots where we're getting Ruben's point of view. Seems like there's got a point of hearing. Point of hearing.
Oh, I like it.
Point of hearing. And by the third or fourth one, you're like, you know what? When we're seeing these beautiful overhead shots, we're hearing what he would not hear. Like, these are all the low rumblings of the world that don't happen.
That are gone now.
Yeah, they're gone, right? And this all culminates in the end, that final shot of this movie.
Amazing. I knew it was coming, and I still totally, it was so satisfying. It was so satisfying.
It still works. It's like same thing when he reconnects with Lou and she is singing this song with her father, and it's nothing like the music they've played on tour, nothing like the music of Blackgammon.
Blackgammon, right? It's a terrible band name.
I kind of thought that too, honestly, for a second, and then I was like,
maybe that's on
it's
purpose.
Still perfect because they're not the headliners, right?
Right.
Like that's a very B or C. Like that is an opening band name through and through. Essentially,
agreed.
And is it a play on black metal? Maybe is that what they're
and backgammon.
Okay, and back. You're right. I don't want to forget that part.
Yeah,
it is a play on both black metal and backgammon.
I assume they were just game players.
Anyway, so she's singing this song with her father, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's not like an orchestral thing again, but it is beautiful, and she has a great voice.
The father's playing the piano, and she's singing along, and yeah.
And we're hearing, the piano directly and the singing directly, and I know the crossfade's going to happen where we go to his cochlear implants, right?
Right.
And it's because I know it's coming, yes, but it's sold because it's all on Riz Ahmed during that moment. And he nails it. He nails everything.
He does.
Essentially in this movie.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I knew it was coming. Same thing at the end. Yeah. Like he sits down on a bench, and this is after he's essentially broken up. And this is where that part where I do find out that the relationship wasn't great for her necessarily. She starts scratching again the moment they talk about getting back into the band.
Right.
And Ruben figures it out. He's like, you know what? This isn't, it kind of clicks. So he spends one more night with her, and he takes off, sits on a park bench, takes out the cochlear implants, and we get that overhead with there's no sound in the rest of the film.
And the other thing that this does is, so earlier on in the film, the person that ran the facility, Joe, I think that was his name, right? Yeah. Joe had given him had given Ruben a single assignment outside of learn to be deaf after there was some kind of a mix up, or kind of like him having a little bit of a trouble kind of integrating totally, and it was to get up at 5 a.m, grab the cup of coffee that'll be ready, and go sit in a study that has nothing in it except for a pen, a piece of some paper, and windows,
and a donut.
Yes, don't forget the donut. And he's told, he's specifically, explicitly told, go in and just sit and just be still. And if you can't be still, write. Don't draw, write until you can be still. And we never see him still in that room. The very end of the movie is the time he is out. He is just a statue in that on that bench. He takes out the implants. He looks up and he's a statue. As soon as the implants come out, he does not move at all. And it's a great callback to that thing, and it's the, it is the culmination of the movie where he does fully recognize. I think he accepts and has now kind of, even when he's had the implants for X amount of time, but he has, at this point, he's learned enough sign language to get by in the deaf community. He's clearly integrated into that community back home, and we get that. I think it's just a beautiful moment of him coming to grips with everything changed for me. Like my life is different now, and sometimes you just gotta be still and accept things. And I think that was it was really well done.
Great. It's a fantastic package. It looks, sounds. In fact, there was this is the last thing I'll say. Okay. Because I remember I said I knew I would like the look of this thing. It not only has that low contrast thing. I didn't get this until I was writing it down. I was like, I love the look. It's got that reduced contrast. It's very noisy. Literally in my notes, I'm like, oh.
See, good call.
It does. Like there's some actual film, like visual noise to it, and
love it. Yeah,
but not throughout the whole thing. But in fact, I'm really curious if this was shot. Considering this is a early. He's definitely done some other stuff. Sorry, Martyr, is that it?
Yeah, I didn't realize this, but he freaking I'm guessing he only did touch up on it, but he did work on The Place Beyond the Pines, which was a solid movie.
So yeah, all his credits have to do with either writing or editing. So this is an early outing for him directorially. So I would be reluctant to say it was done on actual film, but it's like people should take note of whatever filters he used then to get this, because it looks great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
90 stars
out of 90.
So go watch Sound of Metal, and then
it is streaming on Amazon.
Email us at podcast@bookclubformovies.com, or find us on Facebook and Twitter, where we'll continue the conversation. Man, I got all these taglines that aren't ours up in my head. Matt, what are we going to do next week?
So we've got a number of things that are kind of floating around, but I fully admit I kind of want to do after this one, and then knowing that Minari is coming up, we are going to do Minari very soon, which is the Steven Yeun movie. I think it comes out next week or the week after.
I mean, that's been out for like a year,
but it's unavailable in every respect right now.
Gotcha.
But I kind of want to do something a little dumber. and I fully admit I just watched this, and I've already told you how much I like it. And I don't know if it's worth a show, but I kind of want to do a show on it because it's super weird.
Let's find out live on air, as we say.
So there's a 70s kung fu animated Batman movie that just came out.
Oh, boy.
It's real fun. I don't know that it's worth a whole show, but we've done some other dumb shows in the past.
That's true. I cannot talk in that respect. In fact, there's one movie up in my head that would be like my reply that's going to shoot anything I say right now in the foot. But here's my only reluctance, is that I haven't had great success with most of the DC movies. I think I liked, and I know.
Like, you don't have to. You don't even have to go any further than that. I think almost anybody listening to this would go, "Yeah, I think we all have."
And I haven't seen this one. I am very interested because of but this is what happened last time. Last time I was interested in a Batman that just took an aesthetic, and I was like, oh, it was Gotham by Gaslight. And I don't think I was not happy with that.
I didn't love it.
So this one, yes, 70s Kung Fu Batman. I'm like, oh, but I've been burned before. I've been hurt before, Matt. So I'm putting literally my heart in your hands if I agree to do that movie. So if that's...
you got another suggestion?
Well, see, and this is where I would shoot myself in the foot.
Okay, let's hear your nightmare choice.
I'm not even suggesting it. It's just a movie that's been in my head that I'm going to watch. And I remember I wanted to ask you, hey, should I just watch this, or do you want me to save it for a show? But I have Max Cloud.
Oh, for the love of Gary.
See what I mean? I'm not saying I have no idea. I haven't seen it. It's a Scott Adkins thing, so it can't... Like, I was expecting it to be bad, and then when I saw some positive reviews, I was like, well, this can't be right.
I've never read anything good about anything he's done, but he's good at what he does. No, that's the thing. He's really good at what he does, but the things he does are not great.
Right. Yeah, we've had that conversation. And it's... If we did it, it might just be more interesting to continue that conversation, because I have a rest of the show bit where I'm kind of beginning that trip.
But Batman Soul of the Dragon has Mark Dacascos.
Exactly. So again, this is potato.
And Michael Jai White. And Kelly Hu.
I'm not. I'm still leaving the decision in your capable hands, my friend.
You want to do a one of those things? Where we punch each other? Wait, no, what is that? Yeah,
that looks different on camera. Do
you want to do some of that?
Paper, rock, scissors?
Which one?
Oh, I see. A little Rochambeau.
Also,
I don't think that would play for... Actually, it would play for the deaf community.
See? Do you want to do...
Here we go. Okay. Ready? This is us. Paper, rock, scissors. 2 out of 3 or just 1?
I don't know. To go 2 out of 3.
Okay, this one's for the deaf community. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
1, 2, 3, shoot. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
All right.
1. Okay, wait.
There's a delay here. This makes this difficult. Okay.
1, 2, 3, shoot. I can't even see your hand.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, now I guess that looks fake because I just won.
I
promise I did the scissors off.
Okay, sure.
Were you doing paper or scissors?
All right, I did paper, so you win the first one.
This is not working.
All right, we'll do it again. Here we go.
Okay. I'm on camera this time.
One,
One,
two,
two,
three.
three.
Shoot. Oh,
my
you
gosh,
win.
I just did too.
You win.
How did that work?
You win. All right, so we're going to do
I've never won
Max
anything in my
Cloud.
What did I win? Yeah, did me winning mean we're doing the Batman one or the Max Cloud one?
As far as I know, it means Max Cloud, but it's your call now.
Okay.
It becomes
right.
your choice.
This will be fun. Hey, no matter what, this will be fun. This is a good long string of movies that we've never seen before, doing shows on them. This is wild, Matt.
Yeah. I will say I will entreat you to watch Batman Soul of the Dragon during your off time. Because legitimately,
you want to do the rest of the show? There we go. That's the compromise here. We're doing a show on Max Cloud. We're rest of the showing Batman. What is it?
Soul of the Dragon. And I'll tell you what. I'll do you one better. All right.
Ooh.
You watch those two. I will watch Max Cloud and The Hunted finally.
Oh boy, it's number one. It's The Hunt. Before you go watch The Hunted, don't do that.
Yeah, it could. But either way, it could be good. Could be bad. One's got Christopher Lambert in it.
Wait, The Hunt does? The Hunt does?
No, Hunted.
No.
The Hunted.
The Hunted has Lambert in
I
it?
think so.
I thought that was the Benicio del Toro,
Dude,
Tommy Lee Jones
there are
thing.
definitely multiple movies called The Hunted.
That's very true. No, I'm talking about The Hunt with...
Well, I mean, The Hunted does have Connie Nielsen in it, but also Tommy Lee Jones. But The Hunt is the one I was talking about with Betty Gilpin.
Betty Gilpin, that's who I'm going for. Yes.
Yeah.
Love her.
I am going to watch that movie.
Okay. All right. Hey, so for the rest of the show today, before I go on, I know you haven't watched The Hunt. We did The Tenet already. What bits do I have left? Yeah. I tell you what, you go with yours and I'll have a list ready.
Don't have a lot this week because
okay.
I again with Batman Soul of the Dragon, but I'll hold off on that. The other things that we watched, we caught up on our Marvel movies.
Where are you at now? You did Guardians last week, so you must have been.
We finished Guardians 2. Okay. We did Age of Ultron and Ant-Man, which Beth. This is just great. Beth does not recall seeing like any of these movies, and she was like, "I don't recall seeing this." I'm like, "We saw it in the theater." She's like, "No, we didn't." I'm like, "No, we did." I remember seeing that one in the theater. This one in the theater. That she totally had the that same reaction though, where she was like, "I liked Ant-Man. That was a cool movie. Doesn't seem like a Marvel movie though." Right. Like, yeah, it doesn't even a little bit seem like a Marvel movie. And
then did you drop the whole Edgar Wright thing on her? Like, it could have been even more different.
It could have been even more different. I didn't, but we liked it. I still like that movie a lot. Age of Ultron.
I'm curious if I want to say it climbed a tick last time I watched it. I'm curious if it did so for you.
Maybe only because it introduces Wanda and Vision, and I'm kind of, because of the show, it's like, oh yeah. It also is a stark reminder of the fact that Wanda, as the movies go on, slowly loses her accent. I'm Sokovian. Hello, I'm from Sokovia. Hello, I'm from Sokovia. Hello, I'm from Sokovia.
Right?
Hello, I'm from Sokovia.
And then, and it's gone in WandaVision, but I heard she actually explained that to some extent.
Yeah, I haven't watched that thing, her explanation yet, but
okay.
And we're actually behind one episode now on the WandaVision.
As are we, so I guess we're neck and neck. Stay tuned for the next TV volleyball.
It's gonna be a good one. Looking forward to.
Yeah, you've correctly named the three things that I still think makes Age of Ultron worth watching, and I'll even go above and beyond. But I think for sure, if you care or not, like, I love Vision. You didn't mention the hammer scene, but I love the hammer scene.
The hammer scene is fun. Yeah,
it's just good. The Avengers at a party. It has no meaning or repercussion really, technically, but it's
fun to see them have moments of downtime with each other. Like it's those moments, and I mean, and ultimately, it is kind of a curiosity. And this goes back to the question I've had, and I've asked it a number of times. How much of the MCU did they have like locked down in terms of, we know what we're going to do with the Infinity stuff at the end? And I ask because I find it like, did Joss Whedon just arbitrarily decide, let's go ahead and have Steve pick up the hammer and have it budge, but then we're not going to pay that off? Or was that we're going to pay it off?
Oh, you're talking about, okay, down to like the minuscule. Yeah, who knows?
Well, because some of that stuff, like there are little things, and I don't remember, like that one comes up immediately, but there were a few things that popped up that I mentioned while we were watching it that do pay off far, far down the road. And I am legitimately curious, were there like beats that they went, okay, we definitely want to have at some point Cap picks up Mjolnir. We got to have that. We want to do this with this character. We want to, like, they're just little things that I'm curious if they were there and they said, okay, can we fit this in here? Or was it, we're taking all the itty bits from the movies and going, oh, that can fill in this. We can use that and reference it here.
Sure.
Because there is so much. And
well, that's the kind of stuff that makes me believe that Kevin Feige is real. You know, like he is an actual person that exists and is like, this is, regardless of whether or not Joss Whedon thought about it, it was Feige who's like, this moment that was perfect as a standalone, guess what you got to do now, Russo brothers. And
right. I mean, is that the case? Did Feige just go, do what you're going to do? We're going to circle it all around. And then he wrote down, like, he has a big board of, these are little things I want to pay off in
he
some
must
way.
have had a list. Yeah, I feel like at least notes.
So curious.
You would
yeah.
say. Mm-hmm.
And I will say, watching that movie again and watching it with the specifics in mind, I think one of the ultimately frustrating things about that movie, which again I've talked about, and I hate harping on this, is the fact that Whedon purposefully tries to make Hawkeye the heart of the team, but then, and I know I've mentioned this, nobody follows up on it. And so it just is a storyline that is not even a thread. It's a thread of a thread that dies off. Like it becomes nothing. It's ridiculous.
And I will stand by, and I don't think this actually saves it, but to me, it makes its inclusion worth it, is that's more of a reaction. Honestly, like Hawkeye had already become kind of a joke at that point, and Whedon was like, okay, let's make him the heart. Like, let's make him, the reason you're making fun of him, it's true, but it's because he's a family man. Like, he basically took that and was like, okay, fine. You know, this is why that's still your criticism isn't really a criticism. So
he does. I will say that Hawkeye gets the very best line of that movie. 110%. He gets the best line in the movie.
It's hawk time.
That's what he says. He's like, I'm in the nest and I'm ready to hawk.
Eyesight.
It's that moment where Wanda, they're in Sokovia. Sokovia is rising off the ground. She's realizing everything has gone to hell. I'm pretty sure Quicksilver has died at this point, and he's comforting her in the respect that he's like, I don't care what you do. I don't know what you did in the past. If you walk out this door, you're an Avenger. But look, he has this monologue, but he gets the line of, I've got bows and arrows. None of this makes any sense.
Right. Yeah.
Best line possible. Like that.
But that's like it continued, right? Like that's
definitely
Joss Whedon facing that head on. Like, guess what? I guess it's one tick away from him being the everyman, but it's like him being not even in on the joke is wrong too. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that movie several more times, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, sounds good.
No,
by the way,
that's not even gonna happen for me.
Speaking of Suicide Squad, J.K.
Okay, is that it? Okay,
yeah. No, that's just the way to. That's my thread killer of a sentence.
Very good.
What do you got?
I think I know what my. I'll still let you choose. Tell you what. Do you want some Christmas Chronicles 2 / Trial of the Chicago 7 talk, or do you want some Star Trek movies finish up with my daughter talk?
Let's go with the Star Trek finish up with your daughter talk.
This started a long time ago. I want to say
in a galaxy far, far away. That's
yes,
Star Wars.
Those are the movies. Hey.
You don't even know how to trek, buddy.
No, we started, I think, 246 with my daughter because we wanted her to know who Jim Kirk was before we got into the Next Generation movies. This coincided with us watching the Next Generation. We finished that. I think we did talk about that on the last TV volleyball.
Yeah, we did.
So we have since gone through the Next Generation movies, being Generations, First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis. and ask me anything.
I remember when Nemesis came out, because I was working in the video store and I had zero interest in any of the movies, but I watched it because somebody said it was pretty cool, and I remember being like, oh, this is a weird movie, I don't like it. How is Nemesis?
I am a defender, but like fanboyishly so. Like, I get that's a weaker film, but
So
I'm
would
kind
you
of
say
with
so you're the Iron Fist of this situation as a
that.
defender?
I don't get the reference in my
Because he's a defender.
Oh, I'm ashamed of myself.
You were the defender.
I thought I was going to be Gene Wilder for a second.
of...
Where is that an actor? You sent me a picture, by the way, of Iron Fist and
and Power Man.
Power Man as Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. Was that an actual comic book cover?
I don't think no. Somebody just drew it.
Okay, well, somebody is a genius.
Yeah, no, they are. Google that for anybody who's interested. It's really funny. It might be from Mad Magazine. All I know.
Actually, that had that does have a real Mad Magazine vibe.
It had the look to it. Anyways.
Generations, let's put it this way, to answer your question about Nemesis.
Okay.
Generations is perfectly entertaining until about the third act, and boy, does it take a lot. And this could have been anything from Notes to Shatner to whatever it was, because this is essentially Shatner dies. Kirk dies.
Oh, I was like, holy crap, they killed Shatner in that movie?
Yeah, in the middle. Well, it does kind of look like he's barely going to make it through the film at some point, but
he probably was.
I'm sure they wanted to take some time with that. Kirk is an icon, et cetera, et cetera. So the third act takes a lot. If you're not a fan, I don't know if you get through that third act without some major issues and or naps, essentially.
Sure.
That's Generations. Nemesis is better than that, but it comes at the tail end of... Okay.
Great.
I mean, this is an out and out Star Trek fan giving you the lowdown on these movies. So it's untrustworthy, but let's just put it this way.
Okay.
I side with Brent Spiner on Twitter when I defend Nemesis as a film that's both entertaining and includes Tom Hardy.
Sure.
Okay.
Those are facts that happened.
And honestly, I would pair that with Insurrection. I think Insurrection is probably a better film. Yeah, there's kind of a haphazardness to Nemesis that, even though it's entertaining, like, it's kind of a shadow of the films that came before it. Insurrection is a quieter film than First Contact, but is still beautiful in its own right, I think. Just cinematically, talking about Star Trek movies here still. If you watch nothing, and you can watch nothing else but First Contact, watch First Contact. It's a great reminder that the Star Trek as an action movie existed well before the J.J. Abrams reboot. In fact, First Contact stands toe-to-toe. I liked those rebooted movies, but if you wanted those but got annoyed at the reboot, if Trek was sacrosanct to you, go back to First Contact. Just watch that over and over, because it does all that with the Trek that you love. So
fair enough.
It's great. Very, very, very good. Star Trek First Contact is the one from that bunch. And my daughter agrees, even though we are quick approaching the point where when I ask her if it was better than Daredevil, because I still ask her that question. Yep, I still do. She's starting to answer, I don't remember Daredevil as much, so...
Time to rewatch Daredevil.
Movies are getting better.
Oh.
But yeah, that's the Star Trek bit.
All right. Well, what about Trial of the Chicago 7? I'm not so interested in the Christmas Chronicles.
Oh, you want it all now? Let's see. What do we got on the clock over here?
I'm not super interested in the Christmas Chronicles Part 2. But I admit,
I could probably do all 4 of these movies and we'd still get out under an hour.
This is going to sound probably really awful, but I'm going to say it. You can choose to edit it, whatever.
Oh boy.
So I don't.
You're going to say something bad about Kurt Russell, aren't you?
No.
Oh,
ridiculous.
Okay. Sorry, not that bad.
I fully understand that when people get work done on their face, that it's not necessarily for me. It's for them. Oftentimes, it's they don't like how they look, so they're making a choice to get a lift or to add things, what have you. I have rarely seen any actor or actress walk away from those surgeries looking better. And I feel like every single time you typically then hear about they just look weird, they look different, and it's not like it's I know that's so and so, but it's not so and so. And Goldie Hawn was such a beautiful woman, and then she decided to have work done, and I don't know when that began, but every time I see her in a clip from that movie, I'm like, her face doesn't move. Like, you know, like she talks, but her face doesn't seem to move.
Yeah. It breaks the heart and the head.
And I mean, I'm not like if she's happy, then that's great. It's got nothing to do with like, you know, anything outside.
I don't even follow that stuff, so I don't know. Like looking at her, I honestly couldn't have told you if that was the issue going on. I just thought
maybe
she's older.
You know, I don't know. There are certainly actors that have aged and done nothing, and you know, also look weird. So it's not.
Right.
You know, roll the dice. I guess what I'm saying is that those moments they oftentimes will yank me out of a movie or something, and it can make it like the best example, my favorite example of this actually being done is in the TV show Scrubs. And not only is it done in Scrubs by one of the actresses, she had changes that she wanted made. But the show was created by her husband, and they outright talk about it on the show. Like they make jokes about it, and she goes along with it's a thing. But you 100% can see her change from when she first showed up on the show to when the show ends. Like, you can see the work. It's clear as day.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess ultimately I don't necessarily follow that stuff, and I just kind of inherently hate that aspect of the business or whatever.
Right.
You know,
and that's I just wish that I wish they were
but you're right. It's a personal choice, and
I wish they were happy with what they looked like and didn't feel the need to do that.
Also
that's I guess. But if she's happy, then good for her.
Let's say this for Christmas Chronicles 2. Again, I myself didn't necessarily. I kind of just thought she was older. Maybe I was able to overcome it also just because it was nice to see Goldie Hawn. And
I love her. She's funny and she's delightful in every respect. So
she does fine in this. She's given some stuff to work with, and neither of the Christmas Chronicles movies are great, and even like great Christmas movies, they're fun enough, and as a family we certainly had fun watching them. I was surprised how much my daughter remembered from the first one as we started up the second one. But let's just say the funniest thing I found about Christmas Chronicles 2 was that it was legitimately actually in real life directed by Chris Columbus, whereas the first movie is just remember Chris Columbus Christmas movies. So I think it's interesting that the snake has completely devoured its own self and tail. But I can't imagine you start that movie, either one of those movies, without knowing what you're getting into and getting exactly that. So I don't know. Well, that's where.
All right.
Christmas Chronicles.
What about the Trial of Chicago 7, though?
Well, only because I have one note on it. Sorkin is also a known quantity, and I feel like you like him or you don't, and I do like him, but with this movie, I think I get some of the blowback, and you love all the walk and talk. I think he's a master of construction. I really do. You get wrapped up in his stories, but I'm starting to understand that all of the characters really do just sound like him, you know? Like, they all sound the same, and they kind of all sound like him. And I'm sure there's some nuance there that, you know, you can pick up. Trial of the Chicago 7 seems like the culmination of all of that, you know, in a way. Like, you get into the story, and man, it's got its beats and its payoffs and all that. Again, he's a master of construction, but really all the fast talkers, nobody talks like that. Sure, like, you get over that. We know, I feel like that's, again, a given for a Sorkin, but it seemed a little more naked this time around. I don't know why. And regardless, I still got into it and was like, man, and the music swells and oh boy.
How were the performances? Because I feel like Sorkin is one of those guys where, so Sorkin and I this comparison is probably going to be laughed at for a variety of reasons.
Let me start now.
but Sorkin, his dialogue is kind of like, he has I'll compare him directly to Shakespeare in that the
okay.
The dialogue is not for everybody. There are definitely actors that can chew it and just spit it out, and it's amazing. And there are actors that just can't. There are lots of actors out there that can't do a Shakespearean dialogue. They can't do Shakespearean plays for the life of them.
Okay. I see it.
And I'm curious if this had any of that, or if everybody kind of like the dialogue was it felt good for what it was, and the actors gave it what it needed.
Yeah, I don't remember any moments that didn't land as far as that goes. I actually I don't like Eddie Redmayne. Is that him?
Yes. I mean,
I don't
know
like
if he's
him in
that,
a ton of stuff, actually. But maybe it's because the last thing I saw him in was the Fantastic Beasts, which I did not enjoy at all. I liked him in this quite a bit, even though I hear his representation isn't great, of the actual man. I guess that's maybe the thing too, is I feel like this is maybe one step away from the Ip Man movies, in that those movies are like these wild.
Wow.
Like one step. Okay, maybe it's a few steps. I don't know.
There's a lot of martial arts in the court. It's crazy.
No. In that they've taken a historical figure and even historical moments and made just these wild set pieces and action movies.
Okay, sure.
They've taken these real characters and these real moments and created words that were not said during any of it, it seems like,
Sure.
And I'm sure there were actually probably some court documents taken, and this is to a large extent movie making in general, especially when it comes to historical pieces and stuff like that. But the fact that it is so out and out Sorkin the whole time, I think worked for everybody involved. I like Sacha Baron Cohen, even if there's a lot of inaccuracies. Like, again, I'm getting some of the blowback because I get they're all quick talkers. There's not a silent one in the bunch that can't quip. Which doesn't happen, especially when there's, trial. There's 7 people minimum in this thing. It's in the title.
Yeah. No, I mean that you're already that's Sorkin, to the nth degree, right?
But I liked it. Like it still landed. I can't think of one person that couldn't jive with that. Now I'm period appropriate in the film.
All
so
right.
Yeah, worth a watch. Still, I'd say.
Even more of a reason for you to watch Batman: Soul of the Dragon.
Oh boy, you're right. Did we choose the wrong one? I won the toss-up. What can I say?
What can we say?
Should have just done a toss-up. That's what I should have said.
That's probably it. Flip a coin,
I'm
Two-Face.
going to call it at that. I have no more movies to give you, sir.
Okay, well, I won't do anything.
Except end the show for Book Club for Movies. Thanks, as always, to everybody. Always for anything. And you can find us again still at podcast@bookclubformovies.com, and look at us on Facebook. Look at us on Twitter.
We are the real Book Club for Movies, not a fake Book Club for Movies like some jags that think they're super cool, stealing our name. We've been doing this for years.
I was going to lead with some of that, and then I felt I didn't want anybody to feel called out, but now that we're ending with it and nobody stays till this far in the show, we can just do it.
You guys suck.
There are some imposters out there.
Suckers.
They seem like nice people.
I don't know. They seem like jerks.
But we very clearly thought of this title. In fact, here maybe it's a good time to review the history lesson. Me and Matt started 0 Hit Points. And at some point, one of us, in fact, at this point, I don't remember, said the words.
You said this title has been yours since like 2013, 2014.
Well, I guess it evens out because you thought of 0 Hit Points. So there you go, right? Pretty sure that was yours. Yeah. Okay. We at some point, I at some point apparently said the words to Matt, Book Club for Movies, and we ha. It was like a very B Sharps moment, from The Simpsons. we're like ha, that's funny. That is so stupid. That's the more you say it, and then we wrote it down in a file on our Evernote at the time, and 0 Hit Pointed our way for years until finally the movies took over and we already had the title. So even before we started Book Club for Movies, way before the imposters, we thought of the name. Which
this is like real life Among Us. We know who the imposters are.
We do. I guess I should. At some point, I need to play that game to be culturally relevant.
No, you don't.
But no? Okay.
You can watch it. It takes 20 minutes to watch one game.
I think I get the gist, too. So if you're looking for book club for movies content, don't go to The Imposters. Continue listening to this one.
Yeah. We're like KFC original recipe.
I mean, just not people are looking them up.
Don't look them up.
I will. After you told me about them, it was still hard to look them up, actually. So I'm not even that worried about it. And we're aware of the movie book club and what was the other one?
The cinema club
book
for
club,
books.
I think. Obviously, those aren't correct.
Yeah, they clearly thought, oh, we've got a great idea for some other cooler people have that name, so we'll make a dumber name because we're
Obviously,
dummies.
that's probably how that went down. So
Dummies.
come to the one and only next week for
Max Cloud.
And I think, let me make sure I have the full title.
You might want to go to The Imposters, in fact. Not sure.
They won't do Max Cloud for you. We'll do Max Cloud for you.
Yeah.
IMDb has it listed as The Intergalactic Adventures of Max Cloud. But
Even
either way,
better.
you Google Max Cloud, it takes you right to it. I want to say it's, why would this not be streaming somewhere? Amazon, where to find movies. Go get it there. Oh, that sounded bad. That sounded like I was encouraging illegalities. Just go watch Max Cloud and come back with us next week where we figure out if it's worth all the hype.
We're going to find out.
On Book Club for Movies. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.